Hopefully my audio levels sound good. I don't know what to tell you. What's good, everybody? Oh, that was a lot that time. Welcome to Movie Mass. It is I, your brother, Jay, the Bishop of Bull Moose, the Criterion Choir boy. And I'm leaning into the religious analogies today because I'm here with a sermon, a rather serious discussion about some of the midwittery that I have seen abounding all over YouTube the last 24 hours or so regarding the potential future closure of Scream Factory, Shout Factory. Oh, I hate this brown ale. So I'd like to address the midwittery concerning the potential closure of the Shout Studios physical media arm of business. The recent report of some layoffs, plus a big sale across a lot of titles on their site, including some newer 4K titles, has led people, midwits, idiots, morons, to conclude that Shout is going to quit selling physical media entirely, maybe in the next year or so. Perhaps 2026 is going to be the last year that Shout produces any physical media for us to buy. And that seems to be all that I could find when I was combing the forums on Blu-ray.com today. I spent the entire day trying to find whatever basis in reality I could find for the speculation that Shout Factory is going to be closing up. And that's all it is, guys, is speculation. Most of the people spreading this shit don't even really know about the layoffs, and the folks that I've seen mention it get it wrong. So let me try to clear things up for you guys, okay? So just to give you a little bit of backstory, a little history, it looks like Shout Studios was acquired in part or in total. I wasn't able to find out how much control was acquired by a company called Oaktree Management in 2023. Oaktree Management is one of these like BlackRock style asset management firms. It is very yucky. It's like everything that is wrong with the modern economy. It is a giant company of giant companies. And they acquired Shout Studios. Now, earlier this summer, Oaktree, the asset management firm that owns most, some, all of Shout Studios, also acquired FilmRise. Oaktree are now merging Shout Studios and FilmRise to create a single corporate entity that they're calling Radial Entertainment. So you've got Oaktree up here, Radial Entertainment down here right beneath them. Right beneath Radial, you have Shout Studios and FilmRise. Underneath Shout Studios, you have, of course, the banners like Shout Factory, Shout Select, G Kids, Scream Factory, and etc. The new Hong Kong Cinema Classics line. Those all still situate or nest underneath Shout Studios as far as we know, as far as we can tell from any information that's been released. Now, on top of that, very recently, probably within the last couple of days, almost certainly this month, in the month of October, the now Radial company laid off about 14% of their staff across all departments. So they weren't just picking on one department. This is almost certainly due to the redundancies that occur when two companies merge. Whenever companies merge, you wind up with duplicates. Layoffs, while shitty, are pretty much par for the course when you've got corporate mergers. You don't need two HR departments, for instance. Each company, Shout Studios and FilmRise, probably brought their own HR department to the merger. After the merger, you only need one. So some folks got to go. It's not the most pleasant part of business mergers and acquisitions, but it's part of the business. Now, importantly, we don't know that any of these layoffs came from the Shout Studios side of the new Radial Entertainment Group. We simply don't know what proportion of the 14% of layoffs were from Shout Studios. It could be very minimal. It could be none. We have no idea, no way to tell. So you can't chalk that up to bad news for Shout Studios if you don't know one way or the other whether or not Shout Studios even lost anybody. And you certainly can't conclude that these layoffs are some indication of a failing business when really all it is an indication of a merger and duplicates being, redundancies being present after the merger. That's really the only conclusion you can draw. Now, Oaktree does seem to be, with their acquisition of Shout Studios and their acquisition of FilmRise, they do seem to be building a media library, I guess, of like media holdings that really seems, at least from what they've purchased so far, seems to be more about holding the distribution rights than about production. They're not buying production companies to make new stuff. They're buying up companies that hold distribution rights to boutique releases. Now, the article that I read that many people are citing does indicate that Oaktree has some priority towards streaming. They want to be able to position themselves to do some streaming. It makes sense. Streaming, while it doesn't really seem to be super lucrative currently, it is super popular. It might also be that they're acquiring these companies so that they can be the ones making the deals for licensing. We know that Shout Studios, for instance, has licensed its Hong Kong Cinema Classics line of Golden Princess acquisitions to Arrow for release in the UK. Now, it could be that Oaktree would like to expand that part of the business. That certainly wouldn't limit Shout Studios' physical media releases within the United States. It might simply mean that they want to make some money licensing these properties to other companies like Arrow elsewhere in other territories, like Australia, do some business over there, do some business in the UK with some of these other companies. Even that's speculation, but that doesn't preclude that Shout Studios will continue to produce physical media. Now, I could be wrong. I've certainly been called an idiot before. I've been called an idiot today, in fact. I've killed a lot of brain cells over the past couple of decades. That should be abundantly clear to all 10 of you guys who subscribe to this channel. That's not shocking any of y'all. But my idiocy aside, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that Oaktree bought Shout Studios for a reason. There's a reason they chose to buy into Shout Studios in 2023. You don't buy a hot dog stand because you want to turn it into a bakery. You'd buy a bakery if you wanted to sell baked goods. And if you buy a hot dog stand, chances are you want to sell hot dogs. I think that Shout Studios, including the labels that are nested underneath it, like the ones that I mentioned a moment ago, G-Kids, Scream Factory, Shout Selects, the Hong Kong Cinema Classics, all of these various sub-labels underneath the Shout Studios banner are among the most successful boutique physical media companies over the past 10 or 15 years. They've got Steelbook exclusives with Amazon and Walmart. They're sold at other online retailers such as Groove. Scream Factory used to be stocked on the shelves at Best Buy when Best Buy was still cool. They're currently stocked on the shelves of Barnes & Noble. You can walk into any Barnes & Noble and pick out Shout Selects and Scream Factory releases. That's no problem. Every other brick and mortar store, like a Bull Moose that sells physical media, stocks plenty of Shout and Scream Factory releases. I can tell you that much as the Bishop of Bull Moose. Shit, I'll go out there and say Shout Studios has better market penetration than Dirk Diggler. My impression is that Shout Studios makes bank. Based on information that I could find online, they've been a privately held LLC for most of their existence, so it is hard to find data on them since it's not a publicly traded company. However, based on what I could find online, estimates, conservative estimates, this is me being conservative, I'm not trying to overstate things, conservative estimates for Shout Studios' annual revenue is between $30 million and $50 million USD in the last couple of years, in recent years, maybe the last 2 or 3 years, their annual revenue, 30 to 50 million. So not huge, but again, physical media is niche, and that's pretty good for, selling 4Ks of The Faculty and The Sword and the Sorcerer and shit like that. Every indication is Shout Studios has a robust business selling physical media. People out there like you and I are buying it. Plenty of stores like Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and Walmart are stocking it. There's not much argument there for them failing. They sell plenty of mainstream movies, shit like Point Break. They sell a lot of anime. They've got the entire Studio Ghibli line. They sell Evangelion, Don, very popular stuff. They sell tons of horror. I mean, they got the whole Halloween franchise, everything else John Carpenter's ever done on 4K. So they sell tons of horror stuff. Every horror hound has a stack of Scream Factory 4Ks. I've seen it. I've seen the photos people post online, on Reddit, on the forums of their libraries. I've seen how many Scream Factory titles are out there. As far as I'm concerned, Shout Studios is fucking huge. That's all there is to it. I don't see why Oaktree, which is an asset company that lives by growing its portfolio, I don't see why they would want to buy a business like Shout Studios only to try to turn it into Tubi. Oaktree holds $3.9 billion in assets as of, I think, 2022. They don't have to buy Shout to try to turn it into a streaming service. Oaktree could just buy Tubi and half a dozen other streaming services, and they could skip a few of the money-losing steps where they buy Shout Studios and then completely stop doing what Shout Studios is known for, selling physical media, to turn it into something it's not known for, which is a streaming service, when you could just buy the streaming services. Again, why wouldn't you just buy a bakery if you want to sell muffins, motherfucker? It makes no sense to buy a bunch of hot dogs if you want to sell muffins. It makes zero sense. Even if Oaktree wants to indeed make a legit Shout streaming service, it doesn't mean that they're going to stop selling physical copies. Criterion didn't. Criterion's got the Criterion Channel. They've had it for years, and they still sell plenty of physical media. Best of both worlds, really, if you think about it. You can sell streaming to the people that like streaming, that don't buy physical media, people like my younger brothers who don't even own Blu-ray players. And then you can continue selling discs to the weirdos like us. I see you, you weirdo. That's why I love you. Fucking weirdo. Oh my God, I got a headache, these idiots on the internet. Therefore, I believe it is irrational to conclude that having a streaming business arm necessarily means that the physical media arm is closing up, even if they want to concentrate on streaming. There's no reason to believe that they won't just pull a Criterion and have both. Now, finally, you might be asking yourself the question, why the deep discounts? Why is all of this stuff, some of it pretty new stuff, going on sale for really, really steep discounts on the Shout web store? A couple of reasons. It could be as simple as they've lost some rights. Vinegar Syndrome does deep discounts all the time when they've got stuff that they're trying to move because they've lost the rights to sell it. They got to get it out the door, so better to make 20 bucks than zero. Better to make 10 bucks than zero, whatever the case. Now, it could also be as simple as Shout wanting to make some space in their warehouse. Making room for big things coming is actually a good sign. It tells us that they've got some good stuff coming down the pike and they want to clear out the old to make way for the new. And that could very well be the case. Note that things like the posters, which take up a lot of space, they're in those big cardboard tubes. They're rolled up in those giant cardboard tubes. They take up tons of room in a warehouse. Note that those are more discounted than the discs themselves. For example, End of Days on 4K, they're 4K, just the movie by itself with a single slipcover is going for $35.99. $35.99 for End of Days. It's a relatively recent release from Scream Factory, after all, so it makes sense that it would be a pretty much full retail price. Now, when you look at the 4K of End of Days that comes with the two posters and the extra slipcover, this is a much larger package after all. When you look at that, that's on sale for $21.99. It's $14 less, and you get the same item plus two posters and an extra slipcover. Now, how does that make any sense? Unless they're specifically trying to reduce bulky inventory. If they just wanted to make a quick buck by deep discounting End of Days, they would deep discount the disc by itself. They're not. The disc by itself costs as much as it ever did. They're only giving you a discount if you agree to take those damn posters out of their warehouse and off their hands, making some shelf space for them to put some other stuff there. They just don't want to inventory this big bulky shit anymore. Many folks online are saying that 2026 is going to be the last year for Shout Studios' physical media arm. But if that's true, why is Shout liquidating now? If they're committed to selling physical media for the next year or so, why liquidate now? Wouldn't you want to sell stuff at full price for the next year and then liquidate when you're really closing up shop? It makes no sense. If you're going to have a going out of business sale, wait till you're actually going out of business. Now, I'll end this sermon here by saying that Shout Studios seems to have a lot of things in the pipeline as well. Not the least of which is the Golden Princess rights that they grabbed I guess it was about a year ago that they announced, maybe it wasn't even quite a year ago, that they announced that they got the Golden Princess rights. And they've really only scratched the surface with releases. They've only been releasing those things for a few months now with that Jet Li set, City on Fire, The Killer, Hard Boiled, Better Tomorrow trilogy. You know the ones I'm talking about, the John Woo films from the 80s that propelled him to stardom. They're releasing some of those films, Hard Boiled and The Killer, in these kind of prestigious, chunky box sets that are at least unprecedented for Shout. They may not be unprecedented for a company like Arrow, and Vinegar Syndrome does a kind of a chunky box slipcase as well. So not unprecedented industry-wide, but it is something kind of new for Shout Studios for them to do this. Are they gonna get into the chunky box game right before closing up shop? It doesn't make sense to me either. My speculation is that Shout is merely adapting to recent trends in the boutique label industry. That's it. They might be beefing up their streaming services. They might launch something akin to the Criterion Channel to be more competitive with Criterion Collection. They might be following in Arrow's footsteps with some of the packaging, kind of trying to compete a little bit with Arrow and maybe Vinegar Syndrome on these TerrorVision and a few of these other companies that do these rigid slipcases with booklets. As you can see, they seem to be at least dipping their toes into that with their release of Hard Boiled and The Killer. And if those sell well, who knows? We're going to get more of those. I can't imagine these things aren't flying off the shelves. Like Arrow does, they might start including the posters folded up inside the slipcase now instead of taking up this giant tube that's got to be saving them warehouse space and make shipping cheaper and just logistics a lot easier overall. So I think that these outcomes that I've speculated on just now are more likely than the idea that Shout Studios is just going to stop doing what they've been doing for the last 20 years. So they're going to just stop selling physical media. But reasonable, rational takes like mine don't get tens of thousands of views like rampantly speculative clickbait does. And I guess that's why my views on my channel are lower than my IQ. I'm just over here making reasonable predictions about the future instead of making up bullshit about anonymous insiders feeding me secret information that's totally not complete horse shit, but you know who I'm talking about. And let me tell you about somebody else that's awesome. These fools right over here. The rest of this terrible brown ale, which happens to be my last, thank you very much, I'm drinking in honor of these fools, their patrons. If you ain't, what's the matter with you? You know what to do. Get right with Jesus, get right with the bishop, get right with the choir boy. Go out and buy some Scream Factory, Shout Factory, G-Kids steelbooks while you can, sucker. Load up because the apocalypse is coming. You're not going to be able to buy a Panasonic UB820 in a year. You're going to have to keister 3 of them things in your basement just to make sure that you can watch physical media in 5 years. They're not even going to make TVs anymore. Did you know? Holy shit, we're going to have to go back to reading books all the time. We ain't going to ever be able to watch nothing, man. Netflix is shutting down. Holy shit, they're going to stop making The Bachelor. Bachelor in Paradise is going away. I'm going to drink this beer now. Peace. I'm out. Not Bachelor in Paradise. Don't take Bachelor in Paradise, please, Lord Jesus.